All right, everyone, a very warm welcome to today's webinar. Therefore, 2024, also known as version 31. It's my pleasure to be here with you this morning. My name is Jennifer Schmidt, and I'm a member of Therefore's digital engagement team. So I am usually responsible for doing webinars. I also do e-learning content and just support my team in various different activities. So today I'm doing a webinar. I can't see or hear you, so if you cough, sneeze, or pick your nose, I will never know. But if you do have a question or a comment, I'd love to hear from you. So please use the Q&A box. You can see that in your Zoom controls if you hover your mouse, and you can type a question or comment, and I will read it throughout the course of this webinar. I'll do my best to answer all the questions that you have and make sure that you get a good answer as quickly as possible. So please do interact with me. It's a lot more fun that way, a lot more interactive, and it definitely makes me feel like I'm not talking to myself. So that is always a lot of fun and a good way to get the most out of this webinar. Before I get on to talking about the new features in Therefore 2024, I do have a few announcements that I want to make. The first announcement is that we have some new training courses available. The first is we have end user training available for free on our website. It is therefore.net/end user training, and it's a series of various short videos that explain how to use various Therefore user applications like the navigator, the web client, and the mobile app. Most of these videos are very short, they're between 1 and 2 minutes, and you can watch them in any order that you like at your own pace. So it's a really good way to help your customers get acquainted with Therefore, or even for yourself, if you're not familiar with how to use Therefore. The other announcement that I have is that we have sales training available for Canon and Canon partners. So this is something only for our Canon and NSOs. But if you're interested in improving your Therefore knowledge and you are in a sales position, then the sales training is for you. So you can go onto our e-learning platform, request the sales pre-course. That will start a workflow, which will then generate a code for you. And then you can use that code to add the sales training courses to your course list. We have a bit of that cumbersome step in between because we want to ensure that the sales training is only available for authorized learners. So those two courses are available now. Please check them out and let us know what you think. I also would like to mention that we have technical training available about these new features. We have technical training available for version 30, which was released in the fall for Therefore Online only. But the features that were available in the fall for Therefore Online only are now available for Therefore On-Premise with Therefore 2024. So we have version 30 available, and then we also have training available for version 31 here, Therefore 2024, which are features which are unique to this release. If you want to see all of the features that are new, especially for on-premise customers, you need to do both courses. So complete both courses to get all the information about all the new features. However, during today's presentation, today's webinar, I will focus on features that are unique to version 31, because I do want to make sure that I'm not spending too much time, it doesn't get boring. But like I said, if you want to learn how to configure and install any of these features, the technical training is the place to go. So just to review, what is our release cycle? How do the releases work? Well, as you can see here, we have 2 releases every year. One in the fall, which is for Therefore Online only, and then one in the spring, which is for Therefore Online and on-premise. So today we're talking about this release here, version 31, which is the main release. It's for Therefore Online and on-premise only. The features which were previously released in the fall for Therefore Online only are being included in this release as well. So on-premise customers can get all the features, and we now are at feature parity between the 2 versions. So all of the features that I talk about today are going to be for Therefore Online and for Therefore on-premise. Cool. So that should be clear. Now let's move on to the version 31 server updates for Therefore Online. So as of you guys, I'm sure already know, that Therefore Online is hosted by Therefore Corporation on a Microsoft Azure platform. Therefore, corporation updates the servers so that you don't have nothing to do. You can just sit back, relax, and the new features are going to be installed for you. We make sure that the updates occur outside of your usual working hours, so customers should not be disturbed by these updates. And their planned updates are as follows. On May 6th, Canada already updated their systems, followed by the 13th of May, US, which I think also went well. You guys have already gotten your new features, I believe. Haven't heard anything contrary, so congratulations. Then on 21st, well, the European systems will be updated to version 31, followed by India, then Australia, and finally on the 27th of May, Japan will be updated. So when it's time, just update your client, download the new version. It should not take a very long time, and then you can immediately start using the new features, or at least configuring the new features. Good, so what are these new features that are coming? Let's take a look at the agenda. First is we'll talk about comments, which is a brand new feature which has been added. Next is enhancements to sharing documents. Enhancements to the new web client. We have now date formatted counter fields, which are fields where you can count the number of documents in the category, and you can now automatically add a date to that counter field. You can customize the document title. So I have here a screenshot of what the document title looks like in the mobile app. And finally, we also have enhancements to the team connector, along with other smaller enhancements. So without further ado, let's take a look at the first feature in the list, which is comments. So it is now possible to leave comments on workflow instances, documents, and cases. This is a new standard feature available for all Therefore versions, does not require any licenses. It replaces the old additional info box on the workflow instances. And it also means that it's no longer really necessary to add a text box in your category design for comments, because users can always add comments now. And so what you see here in this GIF is you see just people leaving various comments here for documents and cases that they see. One thing that I would add is that all the comments are associated with the user and timestamp. So you can very clearly see exactly which user left which comment at what time. And that's an improvement compared to how people were previously leaving comments, where it was either just index data or it was an additional info back pane. There was no traceability, there was no audit trail. And now with this feature, it's very clearly visible when the comment was left by what person at what time. Furthermore, there's also security permissions, so that administrators can turn on and off the feature and precisely define which users can and cannot leave comments, edit comments, or delete comments. So what we see here in the screenshot is we see a screenshot of the permissions in the solution designer that an administrator will see. So we have the different roles, and you can add the ability to leave comments, right, as you see here, and edit precisely which roles will be able to do so. So here, example, the role name is contributor, and you can see the contributor has the permissions to view comments, add comments, edit own comments, but they cannot edit others' comments. And in contrast, the reader role, which is a role where users can only read documents, and therefore they can only view comments, but they can't leave any of their own. Excuse me. So this means that this comments feature is really dynamic, and you can really change it so that it suits the needs of your environment. I did get some questions. No. So the first question that we got is, can the text in the comments be used as a macro, like with additional info? So it's just a comments box. You don't, every user, it's an end user application. So end users wouldn't be using macros. So you cannot leave any, it's not something that an administrator needs to define. But it's just something that you can either enable or disable based on the permissions. I hope that's clear. macro and workflow. No, it's not. It's an end user side. So you can use macros and workflows. It doesn't change any of the existing feature set. So you can continue to use macros and workflow, but comments is a separate feature on the end user side. It's not something that an administrator needs to additionally configure. All right, cool. So that was comments. Moving on. To sharing therefore documents. So sharing therefore documents was a feature that was first introduced in version 30 to therefore online only. It is now available for therefore online and therefore on premises as well. So sharing documents allows users to share documents with other therefore users, other therefore groups, or even other users outside of the therefore system from the therefore interface. It's very similar to permissions have been modeled on the export and send functions. And so documents can be shared with people who would usually not have access to those therefore documents. And we have comprehensive security settings so that administrators can precisely control which users and groups can share documents in designated categories. So you can enable or disable sharing documents on the category level as well. That ensures that users aren't able to share documents that they usually would not be able to share. And now in version 31, we've added the option to share in the original format, which is really interesting because now it enables users to share documents such as media files, videos, and audio files. And we can also share Excel files in the original format as well. So when you click on the sharing link, you create a sharing link. You can also select to share in the original file format. Last release, only PDF was possible. You can also add a file title, an expiration date for the shared link, and a password as well, so that there's a little bit of security on there. So as you can see here, this original file format is what's truly new in version 31. Can you block formats like MP4? That's actually a really good question. I'd have to ask, to be honest. But Kieran, thank you for your question. I will check if we can block MP4 files from being shared. As far as I know, I don't think that's a really good question. I do know that you can block certain extensions for opening files, so I'd have to check. Really good question. Thank you. Good, and then let's move on to the web client, which is the next new feature. So last version, in version 30, we first introduced the new web client. It was completely rebuilt to make it more responsive and performant. We also updated the user interface to make it more modern and sleek. So here are some screenshots of the new web client. As you can see, it was first introduced last release for therefore online only, and it's been further enhanced with this release now. So what are the new features in this release? In workflow, we can now delegate and delete workflow instances, as you can see here. We can now share documents also from the web client. So here is the share link. You can see that you can have the same options as in the installed client. You can select who can view that link, everyone in my organization, just certain people. You can add password protection, and you can also select an expiry date for the link. So similar features as in the installed client. And finally, we also have the ability to leave comments on workflow instances, documents, and cases, as you can see here, just like in the installed client. And here, this is what the comments pane would look like. You can see that there's a date stamp, a name, and you can also see who left it as well. So very easy to use feature, again, with the same settings. If a user is able to leave a comment in the installed client, they can leave a comment in the web client. And finally, we've also added workflow history in text form. So what you can see here is you can see a screenshot of the workflow history when the process started, the different steps it went through, and it's in text form. So you can see a textual representation of the workflow. And finally, user adjustments are also remembered so that if you change the pane layout, you make something bigger, something smaller, that will also be remembered. And the next time you log onto the web client, those adjustments will be there. All right, let's check the Q&A again. Is there additional cost for sharing documents on premise? Nope. Sharing documents is a standard feature. It does not require any additional licenses. And if you share documents with people outside your user organization, they will just be able to view the document, but they won't have to have a therefore license. So you can share the documents anonymously so that the users who receive that anonymous share link do not need to have a therefore license. So it's a really great way to expand people who have access or the ability to view documents in the therefore system. But if the user, of course, isn't given permissions or doesn't have a therefore account, they won't be able to make any edits. Is any interactive training available? So we do have the e-learning that I mentioned previously, but if you would like live training, we are happy to provide that as well. Please email either me or our training at therefore.net, and we can set up some training for you guys. Great. So thanks for your questions. Let's move on to another great new feature, which is called configurable document titles. So this is something that many of us have probably never really considered. What is a document title? Well, the document title is the index data information that is visible when you open up a therefore document in many different applications. So I have this screenshot here that has a couple of different places shown where you would see a document title. In, for example, the mobile app, here in the web client, you can see the collection of index data is displayed here. And the navigator, the viewer, you also see the document title in the search, in Teams, in the audit trail. So log files, document title is everywhere. And of course, the document title consists of the index data that's in the document. And we received the request that users want to be able to configure how that index data is displayed, how that document title is configured. So we can now define a specific title for each use case, and we can also configure exactly which index data is shown in which order. On one hand, that makes it easier for users to get relevant and useful information when they're opening up a document, but also we can ensure that confidential or more sensitive information isn't inadvertently shown to users. This is the configuration screen. It's in the Solution Designer, so this is an administrator application. You have a drop-down here where you can see where is the default title or what type of application should be used. We can see all the, select from the application, and then we can see all of the fields in that specific category, and we can define the order by moving up the fields up or down. Then we can also select if we want to show the field label, so that would be like name, date, whatever that index data is, or not. So in applications where you have more space, like in the therefore installed viewer, you might have more space so you can show the field labels, but in the mobile app where you only have a tiny little amount of space, and you want to make sure that users are only seeing really relevant and important information, you might want to leave the field labels off. And the benefit is that users are presented with information that is important and relevant to them, and that you can remove sensitive information that should not be shown in searches. All right. So great question. We got a question on how can we stop users to save a checked out document in any other location? So if you want to ensure that the documents only stay in therefore, you need to disable the sharing function, the export, and the print function. And then users, unless they do a screenshot or work around security, taking a picture with their mobile phone of it, the document will only be able to stay in there for. So disable, send, export, print, and share. That's the best way to ensure the documents stay within therefore. And then to request good, I've just posted the email address associated with training. So if any of you guys are interested in more training, please reach out to us. Great. So that was configurable document titles, and we'll move on to the Teams connector now. So the Teams connector was introduced several years ago. It's a chat bot that you can install in your Microsoft Teams to receive workflow notifications, so that if a new workflow instance is assigned to you, you'll get a message in Teams saying, hey, you've got a new workflow instance. Now it's possible to customize exactly which notifications you want to receive. So you can opt out of receiving notifications for all your workflow instances. You can receive workflow notifications only for designated workflow instances, and also only for designated tasks within the workflow process. This is because we know that there are many users who might get a lot of workflow instances all day long. If they keep the chatbot on for all those workflow processes, they're just going to be bing, 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 getting too many notifications. It's too distracting. So you can now precisely define which notifications you want for which workflows and which tasks. So this is done using a new command called blocked notification, where you can then type in block notification, and then you can precisely define which notifications are received and which ones not. In addition, you can also change the document title, as we discussed earlier. So if you look here, the department is marketing and name Carlos Murray, amount is 124 euros, and the purpose is the brochure. This content right here, that is the document title. And now you can precisely define how the document title is displayed, which index data is used on the Teams notifications as well. So very useful. I think these are great enhancements to the Teams connector. So I hope that you guys will try them out and like them as well. And we have a brief little GIF here. I don't know, sometimes GIFs are a little bit blurry over Zoom, but you can see here there's a notification filter. You can set exactly which notifications you want for which workflows, and then you can add or remove filters at any time. So very easy to use. This is something that I think a lot of people will benefit from. Good. Moving on, we've got another one. Counter fields with dates. So who knows what a counter field is? This is something that administrators can configure during category design. A counter field is a special type of field which counts how many documents are in the category. This is oftentimes used to create a unique number, particularly with invoicing. So we oftentimes see customers using a counter field to have an internal booking number for their invoices, or internal patient numbers, or for feedback forms. You want to have some kind of unique number that's being generated. And the counter fields will generate a new number and just keep on counting for every new document that's saved to the category. Now it's possible to add a date macro to that counter field, so that you can add a date, day, month, year prior to the counter. And you can also set it up so that the counter resets either monthly or yearly. So for example, if we were to have a counter for today, we'd have May is the month, day is the 14th, and year is 2024. And then the counter would continue on, and we can have it reset again from 0 on a monthly or yearly basis. So very, very useful. I think a lot of people will need this. This is a smaller feature, but it is highly requested, and lots of benefits for people who need to track that kind of information. So what we have here in this example here, INV, this is fixed for invoice. 2023 would be the year, 05 would be the month, and then 0001 is a 4-digit counter. So this means the next one saved into this category on May would be 0002, and so forth and so on. And then you can select here, here's the date dependent reset. It says no reset, daily, monthly, or yearly is how it can be reset. Good. Moving on to table index data field enhancements. So table index data fields are used again very often by customers, especially with invoicing and accounting. So you see in this GIF here, we have a table field, and we have several new enhancements. The first one is that you can now copy and paste rows within the same table. You can also copy and paste the data to an Excel file or Notepad for further analysis. You can also set default values for columns. So what you see here, the default value was HR under Cost Center, and every time a new row was added, the HR was copied. And we can also copy value from outside the table. So from here, for example, if we have a delivery date, we could automatically copy that delivery date into the table. And we can also delete multiple rows at once. So it just makes it easier for users who are manually entering data into a table field. There's a lot of enhancements that will make it a lot easier for them. We also have enhancements to calculated fields. So calculated fields are super cool. I'm sure many of you are familiar with them. Calculated fields allow you to perform mathematical functions within numeric fields until now, but they've been significantly enhanced. So we can now join two text fields together. For example, we have here, first name is Julia, last name is Bell, and then the full name automatically ends up being Julia Bell. It can also be used to create, for example, a standard email address. So you have first name dot last name at therefore.net. We also have enhancements to calculations in date fields. So we can now add or subtract dates so that you can say, okay, how many, the billing date is 30 days from now, so by when is this invoice due? We can also subtract date fields, so you can calculate a term length in days from the start and end date. So it's really useful. I'm sure there's lots of use cases when this would be helpful. And finally, our last, but certainly not least enhancement is we can now copy and paste text into a keyword dictionary. So you can see we're just pasting here the list of terms from Notepad, highlighting it, right-click, copy. Then we open up our solution designer, create a new keyword dictionary, and then paste the keywords in. And best of all, if you have a list that has duplicates in it, therefore will automatically recognize the duplicate values and remove them so that you don't have the same keyword field twice. And that concludes my webinar on the new features in Therefore 2024. Let me check the Q&A one more time. And we did get a question about, will the new comments be available via API REST call like the additional info was? Great question. I am not sure, but I will get back to you, Adam, on that because that is a wonderful question. I would assume so. So I have to check, but that is a wonderful question. In any case, we are at the 30-minute mark. I wanted to say thank you so much for attending, and I hope you guys take the time to go through the refresher training. Have a wonderful day, and I don't see any more comments. So just to quickly summarize, connect with us online, contact us at media@therefore.net. And once again, thank you so much for spending your afternoon or morning with me, and I'll see you in the next webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.